Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Franke. If you are new here, glad to have you here. Today's video is going to be a little bit heavy just because we are going to be talking about 8 passengers and Ruby Franke's arrest. I completely understand if you do not want to hear about this topic because we are going to be talking about child, and I know that it can be a very heavy topic to discuss. On Wednesday, August 30th, Ruby Franke, along with Jody Hildenbrand, were arrested for child and neglect. I do believe that a lot of you do have an idea of who Ruby and Kevin Franke are, but for those of you who do not know, they used to have a YouTube channel called 8 Passengers, and they were essentially a family vlogging channel. I do believe they created the channel around 2015 and the channel is no longer there. There are no videos to be found. They used to be a family vlogging channel, and we all know kind of like the detriments that come with being a family vlogging channel. They had a huge following, I think somewhere around 2.5 million subscribers, so they were up there with the LeBrant family, the Ace family, and all those other huge family vlogging channels. The 8 Passenger family, specifically Ruby, is not new to controversy. They have been the topic of conversation for a lot of YouTube channels. I can think of Swoop. She has done an amazing job at just pretty much giving a full scope of what they have posted and what they've done here on YouTube. I'm going to list a couple because there are a lot of scandals and controversies that this channel has been involved in, specifically Ruby and Kevin, that we would be here all day if we were just going through every single one of them. The very first time I heard of 8 Passengers was when a lot of commentary channels were making videos in regards to how he was sleeping on a beanbag, didn't have a door to his room or bathroom, and that they had sent him to like some sort of like wilderness camp as punishment for pranking his younger brother. And I'm like, that is a very harsh punishment for what he did. What irked me a lot about that video was that when he was explaining that he had no bedroom and was sleeping on a beanbag, she was just laughing at the fact that he had slept or was sleeping on a beanbag for 7 months.
My bedroom was taken away for 7 months and then you give it back like a couple weeks ago.
I don't think our viewers know that.
You've been sleeping on a beanbag.
I've been sleeping on a beanbag since October. And they gave my room back like 2 weeks ago. Oh, I'll give you the reason why I lost my bedroom. I think so. I think this is the reason. At least this is the reason that's been in my head. It's pretty funny, but now that I look back, I mean, it's pretty depressing.
No, we never told our viewers.
That I woke Russell up at 2 in the morning and told him that we're going to Disneyland and he has to pack.
I'm sorry. That is crazy to me. Subsequently, there were videos of her that she willingly put out there online on YouTube stating that she would not give her child lunch because she is responsible to pack her own lunch. Mind you, she was like 5 or 6.
Got a text message from Eve's teacher, and she said that Eve did not pack a lunch today, and can I bring a lunch over to the school? This happens quite often when you're raising children, because I know that her teacher is uncomfortable with her being hungry and not having a lunch, and it would ease her discomfort if I came to the school with a lunch. But I responded and just said Eve is responsible for making her lunches in the morning, and she actually told me she did pack a lunch. So the natural outcome is she's just going to need to be hungry, and hopefully nobody gives her food and nobody steps in and gives her a lunch.
I have a child that is 5 years old. I do not expect her to make her own lunch. That is ridiculous. And in that video that she was explaining how her daughter is expected to make her own lunch every single day, or her children are expected to make lunch every single day, she was annoyed that the teacher had called her or texted her or whatever the case may be, stating, oh, that, you know, your child doesn't have a lunch. Can you bring her lunch? And she's like, no, I'm not gonna bring her anything. She is responsible for her own lunch. And she was hoping that nobody would feed her child so that she would learn to pack her lunch and never forget it. There are other videos of her telling her daughter, if you cut one more thing in my house, I'm going to cut off the head of your stuffed animal. What is your child gonna learn from that? Honestly, what is your child going to learn from that? Because most likely they're not gonna continue to cut anything up, but they're going to be afraid of you. You're not teaching them responsibilities, you're not teaching them respect with that type of tactic and punishment, if you will. But Blanca, what does Jody have to do with 8 Passengers and Ruby? Well, Ruby and Jody, they have partnered up. They have a YouTube channel called Connections, and I do believe that they are part of this group called Moms of Truth or something like that. Anytime I hear some crap about like Moms for Liberty or Moms for Truth, I immediately get the ick. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Both of these women are bigots. They do not like or accept anybody from the LGBTQIA community. They have been very vocal about that. I would not take a parenting advice from either of these women if my life depended on it. And clearly, they have no leg to stand on about giving any sort of parenting advice with the charges they have on them. And I really can't trust somebody who would violate their client's HIPAA rights just to divulge details to their church, because that's what Jody did. She spilled details about her client to the Mormon church and had her license on probation for 18 months. How? Honestly, how? Her license should have been revoked for that. Now let's get into the arrest and what led up to them getting arrested, because apparently, according to Sherry, the eldest child of Ruby, and her other relatives, they've been trying to pretty much get the children away for a while. And it's difficult to do that. On Wednesday, August 30th, one of her sons ended up climbing out of the window from Jody's home, running to a neighbor's home and asking them for food and water. And that is when the neighbor noticed that he had deep lacerations and duct tape on his legs. That is when they ended up calling the police. And once the police got there, said that his sister was also in the home along with his 2 other sisters, but that one of his sisters had duct tape as well on her wrists and ankles. I can't fathom somebody doing that to their own child. Like, there's no justification for that. The child was taken to the hospital where they were treated for severe wounds and malnourishment, according to the statement. After the first kid escaped the house, a second malnourished child was found in the same residence, in similar physical condition of malnourishment, according to the officials. The second child was also taken to the hospital for treatment. What makes this even more sinister and insidious is that both Jody and Ruby had filmed a YouTube video in the same residence where they had her children tied up with duct tape and were malnourished. ¿En qué cabeza cabe? According to the documents, Franke filmed a YouTube video from the house just days before the arrest, which adds to Miss Franke's being present in the home and having knowledge of the malnourishment and neglect. Franke did not speak with the police and instead requested a lawyer. She was ordered to be held without bail in Washington County Jail. Good. Good. Without bail, she needs to be sitting in jail and facing the consequences of her actions. DCFS, or the Department of Child and Family Services, was contacted, and in a joint effort with the Springville Police Department, 4 minor children were taken into the care of DCFS. The next screenshot is from Julie Joe's video. I highly recommend you go check her out as well, because she too is also covering this. The person who did post this is the Dad Challenge podcast. I don't agree with his methods. The goal that he has of ending child exploitation, I understand, but the way he goes about it, not my cup of tea. The worst things over the years, what have I missed? Hi, I know I'm not the most popular guy in this forum, but in light of what has happened, I am compiling all of the worst things Ruby did over the years. I have been covering her since I started back in the Micah Stauffer days. We all knew back then that something like this was likely to transpire, but please let me know what I've missed. Early days, Ruby told the youngest to go without lunch because she failed to pack her own. Teachers were perplexed by this. It was one of the first big red flags that Ruby is abusive. 2. Was sent to a wilderness camp for 8 months because of some type of behavior that was misaligned with the Mormon faith, likely normal teenage behavior. 3. When he pranked his brother and had his room taken away, was relegated to sleeping on a beanbag for a further 7 months, and had the bathroom door removed so he could not have any privacy, which makes me think it had something to do with the camp thing too. Threatened to cut the head off her kid's favorite stuffy. 5. The sit-down where the kids admit that they have no friends and cried about it on camera while Ruby smiled. 6. Having a bath and getting ready before taking their kids to the emergency room. 7. Becoming a connections coach where they would victim blame and talk about the distortions under the guise of being holy. Making her kids pay for their own things back. 9. Pulling over on the highway to capture content of an accident that didn't involve her that put her kids at risk. I know there are many more, but I just wanted to have a convenient thread on here so anyone coming in can see what the big deal is. Honestly, snark threads are the last vestige keeping these a-holes accountable, so thank you for doing what you do. In regards to the 2 oldest kids, Sherry has no contact with her and was very happy to see that her mom got arrested. You gotta be really effed up to have one of your childs be really happy that you got arrested. It is unknown where is currently at the moment. He, I believe, is 18 and from what I've seen and heard has moved out of the home. There are also rumors circulating that the Frankies have separated or are no longer together, but that has not been confirmed. However, he did give a statement via his lawyers to page 6. Quote, Frankie's urgent focus is to simply keep his children together under his fatherly care. These allegations of neglect and abuse have been circulating since 2020 when it was obvious that he was still with Ruby. So I don't know what kind of fatherly care he is talking about. A lot of the incidents that we covered today had happened during the time that they were together and making videos for YouTube for their channel. So I don't know what kind of fatherly care he is freaking talking about. Yo no puedo entender cómo un padre puede ver a su esposa, la madre de sus hijos, haciendo barbaridades. I don't know how a husband could watch his wife, the mother of his children, do barbaric crap like that. Him not doing anything or participating makes him complicit, in my opinion. One of Ruby's sisters has also put out a statement. For the last 3 years, we have kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Behind the public scene, we have done everything we could try and make sure the kids were safe. We wouldn't feel right about moving forward with regular content without addressing the most recent events. Once we do, we will not be commenting on it further. Ruby was arrested, which needed to happen. Jody was arrested, which needed to happen. The kids are now safe, which is the #1 priority. Again, I reiterate, to have your own child and your siblings say that your arrest was needed, the level of fuckery you must have done, how you treated your children, has to be ridiculous and barbaric. I do feel like a lot of us saw this coming, but couldn't fathom to what extent it was going to get to. We saw what she was posting online and it was very behavior and not something that any parent would normally do to their child. Lastly, I do want to go over this article that just came up as I was filming this video. Ruby Franke's neighbors called the cops several times out of concern for the children, sources say. Following the arrest of the mommy vlogger, Ruby Franke, those close to the YouTuber are speaking out about her alleged abusive behavior. An Ivins, Utah resident who lives nearby the family and asked not to be named for privacy, tells Rolling Stones that he and other neighbors have called the police on Franke multiple times out of concern for the children, and notes there were weeks at a time where the children appeared to be left home without an adult present. In early 2022, it started getting weird. The neighbor tells Rolling Stone people were concerned because Ruby completely stopped her YouTube stuff, and then it just kind of turned dark. She taped up paper all over her windows. She would disappear for weeks at a time. And there's all these kids just left alone in this house. Franke and her husband Kevin did not respond to Rolling Stone's request for comment. The cops were called, several times. They come and they knock on the door and nobody would open up, the neighbor adds. Franke's sister, Ellie Mexhem, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, and Julie Durow and Bonnie Holland, who are also family content creators, called the YouTuber's arrest something that needed to happen, and said keeping Franke's children safe is their only priority. Somebody on Reddit did post that on September 8th, both Jody and Ruby have to appear in court. It's not a trial, but they do have to appear. I'm assuming to have the charges be read to them or be formally charged, what have you, I don't know, but they just have to appear in court. Hi everyone, editing me here. A lot of things have happened and have come out since I filmed the initial part of this video. So I just wanted to add them in so that we have like a full scope of everything that we know so far. The first thing I want to address is the fact that Ruby Franke has been charged with 6 counts of aggravated child, and those charges are known as intentionally or knowingly in the 2nd degree felony. A felony. If convicted, she will be a felon. Like, the depravity and the severity is just so wild to me. If both of them are convicted and get the maximum sentence for each count, that's 15 years. They're facing 90 years in prison. Good for them. They deserve that. Secondly, as I was looking through Reddit, there was this post I came across, and it was from somebody who apparently was receiving counseling services from Jodi Hildenbrand, and she doesn't have the best record. I mean, we kind of already saw that with me just mentioning that she violated her client's HIPAA rights by divulging information to the Mormon church about her client. But apparently and allegedly, all the couples that went to her for counseling, they ended up not being together after that. And coincidentally, Ruby and Kevin are no longer together after Ruby started a business partnership with Jodi. It was only a matter of time before you be exposed to Jodi Hildenbrand. I knew from the moment I met you, something was incredibly off with you. Something dark and haunting. You played a significant role in ruining the relationships of some of my loved ones with your distortion counseling. You brought a tremendous amount of pain to these families, including mine. I hope this situation teaches you the lessons you've been needing and allows you the time to get counseling yourself to find peace moving forward. No more pain for you or your clients. The audio from the dispatch has been released and it has been circulating around the interweb. I was kind of hesitant in sharing it just because I was like, is this true? Is it like the actual audio? You know, I just didn't want to share something that was not true on my channel. But I do think that hearing the audio, anybody that's still, I don't know how, but is still fans of Ruby and what she teaches and preaches, can hear what was said in this audio and snap out of it.
Mike 42 and you're 42 on scene.
Copy 10-0.
Control 12x11, all B17, all back 17.
Yeah, boy, this is where he said a 12-year-old male showed up with tape around his legs Thursday asking for help, said he was afraid asking for police.
Copy 17.
7 Alpha, 17 as well.
10-4.
101 to back.
10-4.
10-4, you can show me 17.
10-4, he gave the name of Russell Franke, unknown date of birth, or he did give us the date of birth, but I'm not showing any Russells and Stillman. I'll keep looking into that. The RP said he left through the porch of the neighbor's house. Four break 12x11 and 17 to 1014. The male does have duct tape around each ankle. He's not telling the RP why, and said that there's sores around his wrists and ankles. He's becoming, or correction, the RP is becoming emotional regarding the child's health. I'm going to go ahead and have medical stage on this one.
Copy. 1X4323.
Yep. 12x11, 12x4, or 17, sorry. The ERP said that he left from a neighbor's of Jodi Hildenbrand in Ivan's 54-year-old female. Not sure if they're related. When asking the ERP's parents info, he said his mom is Ruby Franke, unknown where she lives.
Copy.
12x11, 12x17. I do have a Ruby Franke spelling with an E on the end of Franke address out of Springville. Only involvement was a traffic offense a couple of days ago.
Copy.
He's also saying that there's two of his sisters are back at the home as well.
Copy that. Control 12x11, 23. 12x11, 12x5, will you give me a 21? 10-4. Control 6 Delta 3, will be 82 if 1-2 now.
Copy 82-1057.
Control 12X17.
Go ahead.
Do you have an address for that, Jody?
Sandbar 8.
And can you put that on the CAD, please?
Sandbar. Martina, go ahead.
Standby.
Come on, Alpha. Can you copy a welfare check?
1-0.
12X17. It looks like if you're at the looking out the front, go left. It's going to be your.
Copy that, thank you.
Copy.
RP and the Juber are going to be sitting out on the front porch. No visible weapons. The male is currently wearing a long sleeve and shorts. And medical's 23 as well.
10-4 ETA, 3 minutes. Medical's in front of me.
Control 428, you can assign me that custodial. I'll be 21.
28, thank you. 10-4, I'll send you Jody's 27 as well.
Copy that.
8 Alpha 6 will be upstairs on the 2nd floor.
Copy. Do you have a unit number? 12X11. I think I may have found Dad. Also a Kevin Franke address out of Springville.
12X17. Can I get a confirmation on that house on Wazoo?
And also a vehicle search on Jody. She's showing a white Lexus ES sedan.
Control 12X11, can you hold there? We're searching the house.
Hey, LT, there's a panic room inside the garage. Downstairs, underneath the garage. Yeah, he says it's downstairs and it's underneath one of the garages, and he's calling it a safe room. He said something about Fort Knox, so I don't know if it has a Fort Knox door or safe on it, but that's what he's talking about.
10-4, we've got it, but we can't get into it.
My guess is that would be where they're at. He says it's a large room, it's a panic room.
This one says Liberty Safe Company. It's got a big wheel on the front.
I'm at the front door.
On this case that we're working, we have the custodial parent of the child in the ER. She just came to our PD and then she took off when we said cops will talk to her in a second. So we're hoping maybe someone can go to the cop at the ER can restrict access from her to her kids. That's something you can relay to them. Her name is Ruby and her name should be in CAD comments.
Just confirming, this needs to be relayed to 12X9, who I'm showing at St. George Regional, or at the St. George officer who's there.
The St. George officer that's there.
10-4.
He's on scene. We're executing a search warrant. Mom is walking up to the house right now.
17, who's walking up to the house?
Other child. Control 12X3, we will be 84 with Ruby, the children's mother.
Lastly, I want to discuss this "if it was me" game that is happening in regards to this case. How do I want to phrase this? A lot of people say, like, if it was me, I would be doing this, that, and the third. It is so easy to speak from a place where it's not actively happening to you, or you don't know how the system works. There is only so much that you can do short of taking someone's kid unlawfully so that that parent can lose their parental rights. You have to have a substantial amount of evidence proving that this parent is unfit to take care of their own child. Some of the cases have to be this egregious in order for kids to be removed from the home. Now, I'm not saying that as a blanket statement, saying like in all cases it has to be like that in order for CPS to get involved and remove the kids. No, sometimes CPS will be involved. But the goal of CPS is not to take away the kids immediately, unless they are in immediate danger. What they will assess is the family unit, see what is going on, and investigate the case and the claims that have been made against the family. Once the person that has been assigned to the family or the case or what have you, they will then investigate and see if the claims are substantiated or unsubstantiated. And that just means seeing the veracity of the claims that were made, whether they were true or untrue. If it is unsubstantiated, CPS will no longer be involved with the family. They will, write up everything that they need to write up, file it away, and that family will not be bothered again unless another claim comes forward. But if they have found that those claims have been substantiated, it can then assess, okay, like what type of help does this family need? Sometimes respite care is what's going to be recommended for the family. Other times they're going to be recommended, at least in my agency that I used to work for a very long time ago when I was working in foster care, it was called ICM, Intensive Case Management. And of course, then you have foster care where the child is removed from the home. So for those people who are coming at Ruby Franke's siblings for not doing enough, we don't know what we don't know. They mentioned that they have been actively trying to get CPS involved for 3 years. Maybe the evidence wasn't enough to actively have the children removed from the home. And then you have to add in the fact that it is, from what I've seen here on the interwebs, that Ruby cut off her children from her family. They had no way of getting in contact with their aunts and uncles or what have you. And if they didn't have contact whatsoever, how were her siblings going to know what was happening in that household? And then there are reports, of course, that are coming out saying that a lot of neighbors have witnessed that that she had covered up the windows, boarded them up basically, so that nobody could see what was happening inside. Again, it is very easy to speak from a place where you either don't know how the system works or it's not actively happening to you. I do want to end this by saying that Sherry is asking for help. On her Instagram, she posted, "If you have any links to any questionable or concerning connections or 8-passenger videos, please DM them to me. It's too much for me to sort through myself." So if you do have any videos in regards to connections or 8 passengers, please do send them over to Sherry. That is it for today's video. I know the topic that was discussed is very, very heavy. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about this whole entire situation, and I will see you guys in the next video.